स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूप कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरु श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरुन् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगना रघुनाथावितं तं श्रीजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्री राधा कृष्ण पादान सहगना ललिता श्री विशाखावितांश हे कृष्ण करुणा सिंधु दीनबंधु जगतपते गोपेश गोपिका कांत राधा कांत नमोस्तुते तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी परमामि हरि प्रिये वाञ्छकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्येव च पतितनां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Granth Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. So today we'll summarize the 5th chapter. You'll see that Bhagavad Gita is 18 chapters. Chapter 3 is also called Karma Yoga. And chapter 5 is called Karma Sannyas Yoga. However, in our Prabhupada's books is written Karma Yoga, action in Krishna consciousness. So why is Karma Yoga? I explained twice. There's a reason. In the 3rd chapter, it began with a question in which Arjuna asked, why do you want me to engage? Why do you want to engage me in this ghastly warfare? If you think intelligence is better than fruity work, that was the question in the 3rd chapter. And why Arjuna asked this question? Because Arjuna was a bit not very clear. Because Krishna in the 2nd chapter had said that Buddhi Yoga is better. And to Arjuna, Buddhi Yoga means not to work, maybe go to a secluded place and chant Hare Krishna or meditate. That was his understanding. And he thought war or a battle not to be very appropriate. So Krishna cleared that by saying that you have to do karma. And without doing karma, no one can live. Without performing karma, even the body cannot function. So in the 3rd chapter, many important points were discussed. One of the most important points in Karma Yoga explained in the 3rd chapter was that whatever you do, the fruit of the work should be done or be given to Krishna. So you find that many people become confused with the word Karma Yoga and Karma Kanda. So let's clear that before we go to the 5th chapter. Karma Yoga, karma means work or action. Yoga means connecting to Krishna. So Karma Yoga is higher than Karma Kanda. Now, what is Karma Kanda? Karma Kanda is a section in our Vedas. Vyasadeva has put 3 sections in the Vedas: Karma Kanda, Jnana Kanda, Upasana Kanda. Now, Karma Kanda means that fruitive activities in which you are doing, like why Vyasadeva put Karma Kanda? So that people can become at least religious and not remain on an animal platform. So animal platform means eating, sleeping, mating, defending. Ahar, Nidra, Bhai, Maithunya. He wanted we not to stay just doing those 4 activities. He wanted us to add one activity in which you keep some connection with the Supreme, or at least become a religious person. So in every religion, you'll find that people like to be religious. People go to church, mosque, or a temple. And Karma Kanda, most of our Hindus follow in this category, Karma Kanda. And then he kept Jnana Kanda, when people go a little more higher, that people try to understand who is God, who is me, and try to understand the relationship. So that is called Jnana Kanda, which means you're engaging your knowledge or speculation to understand God. That is called Jnana Kanda. Upasana Kanda means worship of Devtas, and highest worship is the worship of Krishna. So in other words, Upasana means to worship the Lord. So in the difference between karma kanda and karma yoga means in karma kanda you do ritualistic activities for a gain, to go to a higher planetary system, which is the ultimate goal of karma kanda, or to live a more happier life. Like in this world, everybody wants money, a good wife, good children, good family, and make sure that you live a very nice, happy life. So karma kanda can give you this, which includes the worship of several demigods. And that's why you find in the Hindu community, they have many karmakanda activities like yagyas, havans, some katha, some rituals, some ceremony, worship of Devi, worship of Devta. This is called karmakanda. But karmakanda cannot bring you to Krishna consciousness. No, it can only award you maximum piety or happiness. Whereas karma yoga can connect you to Krishna. So Krishna explained in the third chapter that don't think fighting it cannot be devotion. If you are fighting but for Krishna, then it becomes devotion. Just like if you see the cover of Bhagavad Gita, you find Krishna riding the chariot, and Arjuna is seated on the chariot. And that picture is after the battle started. But before the battle, we find that Arjuna wanted to fight for himself, or at least for his brother, Yudhishthira. But after hearing Bhagavad Gita, he fought for Krishna. He knew it is a plan of Krishna, and he understood that whole of this war has been arranged by Krishna in order to reduce the burden of this earth. So this is answer towards the end of Bhagavad Gita, that Arjuna tells Krishna, I'll do whatever you tell me to do. Now, when you go to fifth chapter, it again begins with a question. So the question is as follows. Arjuna said, first of all, you asked me to renounce work. Renounce work means sannyas. And then again, you recommend work with devotion. Now, will you kindly tell me definitely which of the two is more beneficial? In other words, is sannyas better or is karma yoga better? This is the question you should understand. That many people think that to become a sannyasi straight away is a very good thing. Yes, it's a very good thing. But how long you are going to stay in a sannyas? In the third chapter, this question was asked, and Krishna had already replied, that one should not abruptly take sannyas without becoming purified. So if you become a sannyasi, and if you cannot control your senses, and you still have so many material desires, sannyas is not for you. Prabhupada gives an example in his lectures that a certain person he would quarrel with his wife, and he'll tell the wife, I'm going to take sannyas. And he would leave home at night and he would return back in the morning. So such a sannyas has no value. Sannyas means to live a life of tyaga. This sannyas will be explained nicely in the 18th chapter. And who should take sannyas will also be explained. Now, for the time being, in a short summary of this chapter, at least 5 things have been explained. Number 1, Arjuna wants to know which is better, work in devotion, it means karma yoga, or renunciation of work. Sannyas means, to his understanding, not working is called sannyas, but that is not also sannyas. And the second point mentioned is, Krishna explains to Arjuna from verse number 2 to 6, that yes, renunciation is good, it will take you to moksha. Moksha means liberation. But still, karma yoga is superior because it will connect you to Krishna. And verse number 7 to 13, Krishna explains that when one works for Krishna or dedicates his activities to Krishna, he enjoys a joyful state in his life. He remains a joyous person, a happier person. And if he can control his mind and senses, then he will remain happy forever. That is, for example, Krishna consciousness, we don't eat anything without offering to Krishna. And we don't speak anything which is not beneficial or which is not as per the scriptures. And we try to remain in Krishna consciousness as much as possible. So this is explained as the third point. The fourth point is that Krishna describes the helpless condition of the spirit soul within the material world and the neutral attitude of the world, of the Lord. How the Lord helps a helpless person. And the last point Krishna explains is the determination, happiness, and essential condition of a person who seriously pursues spiritual perfection, which is Krishna Bhakti. So we'll go point by point, so that if you have, I would request all of you who are hearing, if you have your Bhagavad Gita in front of you or in your hand, it will be good for you, for you can go to each verse so that we can summarize the entire text of the 5th chapter. So verse number 1, as we know, the main point is Arjuna appears not to have understood yet the action in full knowledge that it has no reaction. You'll find that you can do action with knowledge and action without knowledge. There's a book called Ishopanishad, which also has one verse, same like this, where it says, any activity done with action, the result will be, with knowledge, the result will be different from any activity which is done without knowledge. And what is Krishna consciousness? Krishna consciousness means to do work with knowledge that I am doing this for Krishna and I'll tell my activities to Krishna. So that is called activity with Krishna. Just like the whole Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna wanted to do action for himself. And after understanding Bhagavad Gita, he did also action, same action as a Kshatriya, as a warrior. He fought for the pleasure of Krishna and he dedicated all his activities for Krishna. So even fighting of the battle became devotional service. And going to the verse number 2, I'll read the verse number 2 for you. The personality of God replied, the renunciation of work and work in devotion are both good for liberation, but of the two, work in devotional service is better than renunciation of work. You have to work. This body cannot function without working. And according to your psychophysiological nature, you have to select your work. Now, many people will say that God has created everyone equal. No. In the 4th chapter, it was already explained. Chatur Varnam Mayashishtam Guna Karma Vibhagasha. We all have different natures. We are born maybe equally, but we all have different natures. You'll find that among us, there are people who have very intellectual nature, very learned, very philosophical. They can think very deeply, and they are leaders in this. They can guide the society. These are called the intellectual people. And there's a second category of people who are good at administration. They are courageous and they can protect other people. So these are called administrative class. And the third class are the people who are good at business and farming, or who have a wit to earn money and keep the economy strong. This is called the people who have a mercantile brain. And then there are simple-minded people who are good at arts and skills. These are the 4th class, who are called the labor class. So you'll find that all these so many kind of different attitudes or natures can be classified into this form, which are as per the 3 modes of nature, which will be explained later in the 7th chapter. That those who are in the mode of goodness can be called Brahmanas, good in the mode of passion are called Kshatriyas, those who are in the mixed mode of passion and ignorance are called Vaishyas, or the business class, or the mercantile class. And those who are in the mode of ignorance, who serve the other 3, are called the Sudras. However, no one is superior and no one is inferior. Everyone is working for God. Just like you see your body, the highest work or the highest burden is on the head. And intelligence is here in the brain. So this part is very important. Just like those who ride a motorcycle, it is compulsory they wear a helmet. Because if you have an accident, if this part is good, you can survive. All these other parts are also important, but not as important as the head. So Brahmin is the head, the Kshatriya is like the arms. When you're in danger, your hands stand up. And the Vaishyas are the belly, and the legs can be compared to sutras. Now, without legs, you can't stand also. So it means legs are also important. Belly is important, hands are important, head is important. Everything combined is called Varnashram system. So here, Krishna says that karma yoga, but with sannyas attitude, is more important than renouncing the work, not working. If you go to the purport, we have at least 4 verses by Lord Rishabdev, which Sri Prabhupada is quoting. Nunat pramata kurute vikarma. We won't go deep into the verses. The meaning is most people are mad after sense gratification. And they do not know that it is the sense gratification which is going to bind you from one life to another. As far as your senses remain dirty or impure, you cannot come out of the cycle of birth in that, unless those senses are offered to Krishna. Now, just to have knowledge that I am this material body and not this, I'm not this material body, but a spirit soul is not enough. You have to act. Theory is not important. I mean, theory is not all in all. You have to act. And when you act for Krishna, the heart will become purified. For example, in the temple, we perform activities like chanting Hare Krishna. It purifies you. By hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, it purifies you. By eating prasadam, it purifies you. You go out on Sankirtan, it purifies you. All the activities are meant to purify our senses. So when our senses become purified, that is called real renunciation. In other words, all our activities should be dedicated to Krishna. That is real renunciation, not otherwise. Otherwise, most activities which we do without Krishna is termed as a fruitive activities, in which you're working for some profit and you want to enjoy that profit. And in the 3rd chapter, if you remember, that those who want to work for profit and not offer to Krishna, they are thieves. Because everything is given by Krishna, including your body, including your senses, even you yourself. Everything is coming from Krishna. And if you do not give your results of your activities to Krishna, you'll become bonded. It means you are a thief. So here, in this purport, Sri Prabhupada says, many people say, I don't want to work. Now you can't live without working. You have to work. And more activity you to do, the more you become purified. So after all, Bhakti Yoga, which actually is not Bhakti Yoga, most of us begin with Karma Yoga. Karma Yoga is explained in the 9th chapter, Yad Karoshi, Yad Ashnashi, Yad Juhoshi, Dadashi. Most of you know the meaning. Whatever you give away, whatever you eat, whatever work you do, or anything you do it as an offering to me. Now, this is called Karma Yoga. Sri Prabhupada gives this a practical explanation of the word Karma Yoga. So we all begin with Karma Yoga, and later on, we also give up the results of activities 100% to Krishna. We give up the speculation completely, and then we come to the level of Bhakti Yoga. So in order to come to Bhakti Yoga, we all start with Karma Yoga, which is very beneficial. And this definition is given in the 10th chapter of our Gita. If you go to the verse number 10, Tisam Satata Yuktanam. If you go to the purport, it says, when one is leading to fruitive results, it is called Karma Yoga. Though it is Bhakti, but it's not pure Bhakti. When you are leaning to a mental speculation, it's called Jnana Yoga. But when your activities are there to please Krishna, that is called Bhakti Yoga. So it takes time before you come to the level of Bhakti Yoga. So theoretically or even practically. So this is how Prabhupada is explaining. Now, if you go to the end of the purport, there's a verse quoted by Rupa Goswami, Prapanchikataya Buddhaya Hari Sambandhi Vastuna. You see this verse, in which it says that if you do not give up everything, we are not Mayavadis. Mayavadis are those people who say that this world is fake, what do you call it? Jagan Mithya. Brahma Satya, Jagan Mithya. Only spirit is true, or Brahma, or the impersonal feature is true, and this world is fake. But our Krishna conscious understanding or a Vaishnava understanding is not like that. Vaishnava understanding means even this world is not fake, but it is temporary. And Brahma actually means Krishna. Krishna has all the three features: as a person, in person, and the Lord in the heart. So prapanchika buddhiya means there are people who say neti neti, not this, not this, not this. This is not going to help you. You find that people give up everything and again they come back. It's very common among Mayavadis. They take sannyas, and after taking sannyas, since they don't have many activities, because they call this world to be fake or illusion, what do? They return and build hospitals, schools, and ashrams, or maybe children's homes, or even join politics. So what is the meaning of taking sannyas? Sannyas means to give up everything and work only for Krishna, or depend on Krishna. That is real sannyas. If you go to the verse number 3, it says, one who neither hates nor desires the fruits of his activities is known to be always renowned. Such a person, free from all dualities, easily overcomes material bondage and is completely liberated, O mighty armed Arjuna. So in the third verse, Krishna says, oneness with Krishna means to be ready to do whatever Krishna wants you to do. Krishna, when you take Krishna all in all, he will direct you and scriptures also direct you, and your guru or your spiritual master will also direct you. Or any pure devotee will directly do this for Krishna. This will please Krishna. So this is the life of a devotee. Oneness with Krishna does not mean you become one with Krishna. No. Oneness with Krishna means you do what Krishna desires. That is called oneness with Krishna. And if you go to the verse number 4, people take karma yoga to be different from Sankhya yoga. Now, you should know the difference between karma yoga and Sankhya yoga. So if you go to the purport, Sankhya yoga means analytical study of matter and spirit. And if you analyze matter and spirit very thoroughly, then you'll come to the root of the creation, and that is Krishna. That even the matter, the origin is still spirit. Everything is coming out from spirit. And the original spirit is Krishna. In other words, you can take a picture of a tree, that Sankhya Yoga will teach you the tree, that this is the tree of creation. Everything is coming from this tree, and the root of the tree is Krishna. And Buddhi Yoga or Karma Yoga will teach you how to water that tree. This is the difference between Karma Yoga and Sankhya Yoga. Both go side by side. You see that a train, when it's moving on the tracks, it has two rails and it balances itself. So even in our Bhakti Yoga or in our Karma Yoga, the knowledge of Sankhya is also important, because you have to know what is matter and what is spirit. So when you know what is matter, what is spirit, and then you perform Bhakti Yoga, then it's like a supplement, and it goes side by side or hand in hand. So both are important. And let's go to verse number 5. In the verse number 5, it says that one who knows that the position reached by the means of analytical study can also be attained by devotional service, and who therefore sees analytical study and devotional service to be one or the same level, sees things as they are. Again, the meaning is the same. If you know Sankhya Yoga, because even in the Sankhya Yoga, ultimately you have to come to know Krishna and to serve Krishna. Those who have a bit of knowledge of Srimad Bhagavatam, Sankhya Yoga is nicely explained in the 3rd canto by Kapila Muni to Mother Devahuti, in which if you read those verses, it teaches you pure devotional service. But the name is given as Sankhya Yoga. It means Sankhya Yoga, the meaning of the teachings of Kapila Muni, teachings of Lord Krishna, and teachings of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu are non-different. They may be explained in a different way, but otherwise the substance is the same. So that is the main point of verse number 5. So superficially, Sankhya Yoga and Bhakti happen to be different, but otherwise both of them have a same conclusion. Going to the verse number 6, it says, difference between Mayavadi sannyasis and Vaishnava sannyasis. The verse is, merely renouncing all activities, not engaging in devotional service of the Lord, cannot make one happy. But a thoughtful person engaged in devotional service can achieve the supreme without delay. So you find that in India, Mayavadi sannyasis are very common, and their understanding is very different. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu actually is warning us that we should not take shelter of Mayavadi sannyasis, we should take the shelter of Vaishnava sannyasis. But what is the difference? The difference is Mayavadi sannyasis, they study Vedanta Sutra, and they have their own commentary called Shariraka Bhashya. And the Vaishnava sannyasis, they study Srimad Bhagavatam or Bhagavad Gita, and their commentary is given by so many Vaishnava acharyas, especially Vyasdev. So original understanding of Krishna or Vedanta Sutra is the Srimad Bhagavatam. So this is the difference. Of course, they are also sannyasis, and Vaishnava sannyasis are also sannyasis. There's a philosophical difference, which may take time to explain all these things, but in a simple understanding is that they do not come to the conclusion that Krishna is supreme. Their conclusion is that Brahma is supreme. Brahma means Krishna's formless feature is everything. But Brahm, or written as Brahman in our Prabhupada's books, means the effulgence of Krishna. It means they come to the effulgence of Krishna, but they don't come to Krishna. Whereas Vaishnava understanding means to come to Krishna. That is a clear-cut understanding. Verse number 7, it says, one who works in devotion, who is a pure soul, and who controls his mind and senses is dear to everyone, and everyone is dear to him, though always working, such a man is never entangled. Now you'll find that when one practices Krishna consciousness, he may be even a working person, it doesn't matter. Now you should make one point very clear. Many people think that in order to become Krishna consciousness, you have to give up your home and come and live in the temple or in a monastery and dedicate your life 100%. Yes, it may be favorable for few of us, but not for all of us. You can stay at home and yet perform devotional service. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu explained this very nicely to a Brahmin called Kurma Brahmin. When Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu took sannyas, he went to South India and he went to stay or live with the Brahmin called Kurma. And after a few days of stay, when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu left home and was leaving his home, Kurma Brahmin also prepared to go with him. And Mahaprabhu asked him, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, what are you doing? He says, I don't want to stay home. I want to live with you, or I want to follow you, or in other words, I want to renounce everything. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, no, go back. You have your wife, you have your family. Till all of them become devotees of Krishna, pure devotees, then you can come to me. So in other words, if we are already married, or if we are already responsible people, then our immediate duty is to make everyone Krishna conscious, from the smallest member to your family to the biggest member. If you've done that, your entire community, your entire nation, there's a lot of activities to be done. For example, in our ISKCON, now, in Prabhupada's times, most devotees would join full-time. And now, not everybody joins full-time, but people can join later on when they have ample time. They can use the time in the service of Krishna. And you can get the same results as a full-time devotee. Full-time devotee means, of course, there's more advantages of full-time devotee. If you stay in the monastery or the temple or in the ashram, you have time to attend the entire morning program, which is very important, by staying in the ashram, and which is the food for your entire day. By waking up early, attending Mangalarti, worshipping Tulsi, finishing your japa before 7:30 in the morning, hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, having prasadam, very, very important. Sri Prabhupada calls it like a magazine. In the machine gun, there's a magazine. I don't know if you know the word magazine. Magazine means if there's a machine gun, there's a pack of bullets which is connected to the gun. And when you shoot, the bullets come out one by one. So the morning program is considered like a magazine, because everything happens more early in the morning. 5 things happen in the morning. You're seeing the deity, you're associating with the devotees, you're doing Nam Kirtan, you're hearing Bhagavatam, and you're already in a holy place. All 5 things happen in those 2 to 2.5 hours. Very, very important. So that's why those who can join full time, they have this opportunity. Or in other words, if you're staying near the temple, then you should attend the morning program. And if you're far from the temple, you can still do the same program, but it may not be very easy and it will take time. But if you're determined to do it, Krishna will definitely help you. So that is a joyous state when you attain this program. You become a very joyful person. That's why Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, these 5 activities awaken Krishna consciousness, which is natural in the heart of every living entity. When Krishna has sent us here, you find that he has given us Krishna Bhakti. As much as when we are sent here, we are given this consciousness. When a baby is born, it is conscious. If the baby doesn't cry, the doctor will slap the baby to make it cry, to make it breathe and live. So if you are living, it means there is Krishna with you. And you can awaken that Krishna consciousness by engaging your mind and senses. Now here, you should underline these words, mind and senses. When you are in Krishna consciousness, these 2 things are very important, where your mind is and where your senses are. There are people who live outside the temple and their mind and senses is in Krishna. And there are people who may be staying in the temple and their mind and senses are not in Krishna. This is a very important point, which will be explained in the 12th chapter, which is called Bhakti Yoga. How our mind and senses, including our intelligence, if it is offered to Krishna, then such a person will become dear to everyone. And whatever work he's doing, he will become very dear to everyone. And everyone becomes dear to him. He will not hate anyone. He will like everyone. That is verse number 7. If you go to the verse number 8 and 9, it says, a person in divine consciousness, only engaging in seeing, hearing, touching, smelling, eating, moving about, sleeping, breathing, he knows himself that actually he does nothing at all. Because while speaking, evacuating, receiving, opening and closing his eyes, he always knows that only the material senses are engaged with their objects and that is aloof from them. Anyone who has this good knowledge will know that everything is working. What makes us work is the 3 modes of nature. And what keeps us activity of our senses are the sense objects. The eyes like to see what is attractive. The ears like to hear what will please the ear. The hands or the skin likes to touch things which are nice and soft. In the same way, the tongue likes tasty food. And when it comes to speech, people like something which will make them happy. But he knows that all these things is a connection between the sense objects and the senses. And when he has this knowledge, when he's already Krishna conscious, then he uses all his senses in the service of Krishna. See, the Chaitanya Charitamrita, there is a very nice verse where it says that there are 2 words, kama and prema. Kama, if you define in Sanskrit or even in Hindi, is called lust. And the prema means love. Both externally look the same, but they are not the same. Kama means to please yourself. And the prema means to please Krishna. In other words, kama means to please your senses. And prema means to please the senses of Krishna. And externally they look the same, but they are not the same. There's a whole world of difference. Many of you have an experience of a metal called brass. If you polish brass, it looks like gold, but it is not gold. Gold is gold. So prema can be compared to gold, brass can be compared to lust. Brass slowly fades, becomes dark, but gold never fades. Gold remains gold. In a similar way, in the last line of the Prabhupada says that one should render or one should give all his senses in the service of Krishna, by which he should not perform any activity save the service for Krishna, and by which he needs a little knowledge that you are the eternal servitor of Krishna. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, Jivir Sarubhaya Krishna Nitya Das, which means Our constitutional position is that we are servants of Krishna. That is our constitutional position. This understanding only comes when you become a devotee. And even if you are not a devotee, Krishna says, yet you are my part and parcel. It means Krishna still is very merciful. He says, you are connected to me, or you belong to me, as much as a father and a son. Verse number 10, it says that one who performs his duty without attachment, surrendering the results into the Supreme Lord, is unaffected by sinful action, as a lotus leaf is untouched by water. Here the example is given of a lotus leaf. If you happen to see a lotus flower in its natural state, it just grows in water. And actually, the stem of the lotus comes from down from the soil, which is in the water. And the lotus comes outside the water. And under the lotus, there are leaves which cling to the water. And the moment you lift the leaf of the lotus flower, no water will touch. It will come out, just like plastic. That is the quality of a lotus leaf. So why this example is given? That a devotee, he lives in this world, and world can be compared to water, but he's not, when he's lifted, he has no connection with the world. In other words, he has offered himself to Krishna. He's aloof from this material world, though he is in the material world, because of his purity. And this purity comes by the practice of Krishna. Because on a higher level, a devotee offers everything to Krishna, his mind, his senses, his body, which will be explained later on in the next verse, which says that a yogi abandoning act with body, mind, intelligence. So if you go to the Sanskrit, it says kayana, manasha, buddheha. Everything is offered to Krishna, including intelligence, including senses. So three verses, two to three items. In this case, all the 5 items are very important. We should act with body, mind, intelligence, even our senses, for the purpose of purification. It's not that a simple practical example can be given, that a person may think I've chanted my rounds today, so tomorrow I don't need to chant. No, even tomorrow you need to chant, because the body is active, and body, as earlier explained, that it is always connected. The senses are connected with the sense objects. So it's not that you chanted very nicely. Today is which day? Friday. Oh, Friday I've chanted, Saturday I don't need to chant. No, even on Saturday you have to chant. Chanting means purification of the tongue, ears, mind. Chanting is one process in which all other processes are included. You should know that in Bhakti there are 9 limbs. Many of you know this, yeah? Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, Pada Sevadam, and so on. And the last one is Atma Nivedanam. All this is included in the second one, which is Kirtanam, which is the chanting of Hare Krishna. When Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya asked Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, which is the most important activity of a devotee, and the first reply he gave is chanting Hare Krishna. Why? He says in the chanting of Hare Krishna, everything is included. Because when you chant Hare Krishna, you are hearing. When you chant Hare Krishna, you are remembering Krishna. By chanting Hare Krishna, you are worshipping Krishna. So everything is inclusive. At least 4 we can see immediately: hearing, chanting, remembering, worshipping. All is included in chanting Hare Krishna. So as you improve your chanting quality day by day, you'll find that you progress in Krishna consciousness, and that you'll become dear to everyone. Everyone will become dear to everyone. Now, if you go to the purport, there's a verse in italics. If you see, Iha Yasha Hare Dashe Karmana Manasha Gira Nikhaleshu Api Avashtashu Jiman Mukta Sa Uchyate. This is one of the most favorite verses of Sri Prabhupada. One of the most favorite verses of Prabhupada. He liked this verse. Why? And actually, this verse is actually pointing to Prabhupada, because his Karmana Manasha Gira he offered to Krishna. In other words, whatever we have, our body, mind, intelligence, the words, if we offer it to Krishna, you are already a liberated person in this material world. You are a Jivan Mukta. And very few can do that. And those who can do it becomes dear to Krishna. So in other words, whatever you have in possession, offer it to Krishna. Our Prabhupada's, before Prabhupada comes, many other acharyas, and everybody knows Bhakti Vinod Thakur. Bhakti Vinod Thakur says, Manasya Deha Geho Jo Kichu More. Arapilu Tavapade Nanda Kishore. The meaning, this is a Bengali bhajan. It has a very deep meaning. He tells Krishna that my mind, Manasa means Manasa, Deha, body. Geha means my home. I offer to you. To you means the son of Nanda Maharaj, which means Krishna. There's nothing else I have to offer to you. In other words, this is called a real renunciation. And that is the subject matter of this chapter. Karma Yoga, action in Krishna consciousness. That's why if you see other Bhagavad Gita, it says Sannyas Karma Yoga. You're to live even in the material world, but you are as good as a sannyasi. Going to the verse number 13. 13, yes. It says, when the embodied living being controls his nature and mentally renounces all actions, he resides happily in the city of 9 gates, neither working nor causing work to be done. Now this body is like a city. And originally in the Vedic times, the city used to have a wall all around. So this body can be considered to be the wall. But it has 9 gates. What are the 9 gates? The 2 eyes, 2 nostrils, the mouth, 2 ears, anus, and genitals. These are called the 9 gates. So one can live in the city of 9 gates happily if he understands this simple philosophy that I should offer everything I have in the service of Krishna. Then you can live very happily in this Nava Dwara. Nava means 9, Dwara means gates. There are 9 gates to this city, which is very nicely explained if you go to the Srimad Bhagavatam in the story of Puranjan. Now, story of Puranjan is very long. If you have another opportunity, I can explain to you. But for the time being, you should know that you are living in a city which has 9 gates. And all the gates should be taken care properly. And if all the gates, because in the gates, people go in and people go out. In our case, sense objects are going in and going out. Some things are going in, some things are coming out. So gates should be guarded properly. Text number 14, it says, the embodied spirit, master of the city of his gate, does not create activities, nor does he induce people to act, nor does he create fruits of action. All this is enacted by the modes of material nature. It means the soul is not doing anything. The 3 modes are active. Now, many people will ask, how is it active? Yes, you will find that early morning, when you wake up, you are in the mode of ignorance. After taking bath, your mode will change to mode of passion. And when you reach the temple, you are in the mode of goodness, and then pure goodness. Imagine in a matter of 1 hour, 3 to 4 modes are already, 3 modes have already changed. In this way, your mood is changing. Or you see in your practical life that maybe tonight you say, tomorrow I'll do this and this and this. Next day, when your mood is not in a good mood, you are not in a good mood, you'll say, I don't want to do. So we are all slaves of these moods. And moods collectively is called a mode. And how do we overcome the 3 modes? Is explained in the 40th chapter. That if we engage in our devotional service, unfailing in all circumstances, we can overcome the 3 modes of nature. The modes cannot do anything to you, because devotional service means a duty for Krishna. And when you are already duty bound, you are not supposed to look at your mood. You do it. That's why you find that those who are engaged in devotional service, 100% or even a 90%, they are not affected by the 3 modes. Time to time, they'll wake up. Time to time, they'll do your japa. Time to time, they'll take your prasad. Time to time, they'll go to sleep. They'll associate with devotees, read, hear, preach, do all activities for Krishna. Bhaktivinoda Thakur is an ideal example in which you should study his timetable. He used to wake up very early morning. Taking bath, he used to do his japa. At a particular time, he will have his breakfast, a very simple breakfast, milk and chapatis. He'll go to the court, work in the court, he'd return in the evening, again take a bath, clean himself, again do japa, again read. And he was a family person. He had 10 children. And yet he did all his activities in Krishna consciousness. That today, his hard work, his poetries, his books help us guide how to stay in Krishna consciousness. Verse number 15. Nor does the Supreme Lord assume anyone's sinful or pious activities. Embodied beings, however, are bewildered because of the ignorance which covers their real knowledge. It's only due to ignorance. And what is the biggest ignorance? The biggest ignorance is forgetfulness of Krishna. The moment you forget Krishna, you find the ignorance coming in. Even in 1 second, the ignorance can come into you. So even for a second, we should not forget Krishna. And in the verse number 16, it says, when however one is enlightened with the knowledge by which nescience is destroyed, then his knowledge reveals everything as the sun lights up everything in the daytime. So why the sunlight is being explained, that at night, if you look out of your window, if there's no light, all you see is a dark color, a pitch black color. And you can't see anything if there's no light. But the same scene, if you see in the morning, when the sun rises, you see all the shapes, colors, and everything. So when you get real knowledge, which is called transcendental knowledge, then everything will be seen as it is. And how does one get this knowledge? Is by accepting a bona fide spiritual master from disciplic succession. So in the similar way, all the darkness can be removed simply by surrendering to the spiritual master. Text number 17, it says, when one's intelligence, mind, faith, and refuge are all fixed in the Supreme, then one becomes fully cleansed of misgivings through complete knowledge and thus proceeds straight on the path of liberation. In other words, as you act in the way Krishna is telling you to do, you'll go straight towards Krishna and nothing can stop you. There's a beautiful verse which is quoted here in this purport, Matta Parata Nanyat Kinchit Asti Dhananjaya. There's no truth superior to Krishna. Krishna is the supreme truth. Example is given of the beads and the thread. If you see our Kantimala, this what you call Kuntimala, it has got a thread inside. Most of us don't give importance to the thread, but it is the thread which is holding these beads. Or if you see a pearl necklace women wear, there's a thread inside. Most of us don't see the thread, we only see the pearls. In the same way, we are seeing only the beautiful earth or beautiful subjects or objects in front of you, but we are not seeing the thread inside. That thread is Krishna. This will be explained in the 7th chapter. If you are noting down 7:7, chapter 7, verse number 7. Now going to the verse number 18, it says, when you already attain the knowledge of Krishna consciousness, your vision will become perfect. What is a perfect vision? It says, the humble sage, by the virtue of true knowledge, sees with equal vision a learned, a gentle brahmana, a cow, an elephant, a dog, and a dog eater. There's a picture in Bhagavad Gita where you can see this painting in which you see Vishnu in the heart of everyone. Whether it's a tree, a dog, an elephant, a Brahmin, or anything that is there, there is Paramatma, Krishna in the form of Paramatma, in the form of Vishnu, in the heart of everyone. Anyone who can understand this picture can at least become a good human being. Who is a good human being? One who cares for others. That's a good human being. That means you know what is humanity if you know this verse. Verse number 19. Those whose minds are established in sameness and equanimity have already conquered the conditions of birth and death. They are flawless like Brahman, and thus they are already situated in Brahma. So in the verse number 19, it says, one can judge one's need for spiritual progress by how much one feels attracted or repulsed by material nature. You find that as far as you have this material body, as far as you are in this material world, you'll be attracted to certain objects, and sometimes you'll be repelled towards the same objects. This goes on. All this drama is done by our impure mind. We become attracted and we become rejected. So attraction, repulsion will always go on. But when you are in Krishna consciousness, you'll understand, oh, it's natural. And you do not take too much part into it. You stay aloof from it. That is the subject matter 21. And 22, it says, an intelligent person does not take part in the sources of misery, which are due to contact with material sense. Now, this is the definition of sense gratification. O son of Kunti, such pleasures have a beginning and an end. And so the wise man does not delight in them. Now, you'll find that those who are engaged in sense gratification, sense enjoyment, they're always attracted to a certain sense object. They want to enjoy it. And even after enjoying it again and again and again, they will never feel satisfied. So only a fool will go on doing it. In the Ramayana, the best example is Lord, Ravan. He had everything. Everything. You ask anything he had. He had gold, he had women, he had wine, he had food, he had knowledge. He was a Brahmin, actually. Yet, he got attracted to Mother Sita. And what happened? Destruction followed. The same way, in our sense enjoyment, Prabhupada compares sense enjoyment like itching on your hand or itching any part of body. If there's an itching here, you itch it once, you leave it. If you go on itching continuously, what will happen? Your skin will get spoiled. In the same way, sense enjoyment means spoiling your senses. Giving more than what the senses require will spoil your senses. So Srila Prabhupada says in his lecture, any amount of sense gratification is dangerous. Even the one which is licensed by Krishna. For example, in a household life, one has a license to enjoy senses, but still it is dangerous. That is the meaning of this verse. That's why in the purport, Srila Prabhupada is quoting, Nayam deha deho, bhajam nirloke. This is Lord Rishabhadev's verse. Human life is not meant for just eating, sleeping, mating, defending. But this human life is meant for tapa. Tapasya means to engage in austerity, which means the control of mind and control of senses, in order to attain a higher pleasure. As you perform tapa, you find pleasure coming out from your heart. And in this way, you'll not look for pleasure outside. You'll find the whole world, they like to look for pleasure outside. You'll hardly find a home in this Kenya also that they don't have a radio or a television or some kind of pleasures. Though the pleasure is inside, you don't have to look for pleasure outside. If you are a Krishna consciousness, you find the pleasure feeling from inside. Anyone who is a regular chanter of Hare Krishna, if he feels lonely or boring, what does he do? He starts chanting Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. And he feels the pleasure coming from inside. He doesn't have to look for outside. But you have to have that taste. So in the verse number 29, it says that before you give up this body, you should be able to tolerate the urges of the material senses and check the force of desire and anger. Then you'll be well situated and you'll be happy in this world. Now here, the word Goswami is very important. Goswami means a master of the senses. And the opposite word of Goswami is a Godas. You can read this thoroughly in a book called Nectar of Instruction, the opening verse. Vacho Vegam, Manasa Vegam. In that verse is Vacho Vegam, Manasa Vegam, Krodha Vegam, Jiva Vegam, and so on. One who can control the urges, 6 urges of the speech, anger, mind, taste, and so on, then that person can become a guru, a spiritual master, which is not easy because we all have difficulty in controlling the senses. But one who can control the senses, he can become a Goswami. And if you can become a Goswami, then you can become a perfect devotee of Radha and Krishna. It is very difficult. It is not easy. So the aim of this book, Rupa Goswami says that we should all become a Goswami in order to render service to Radha Krishna, which is the most highest, and in other words, it is the most difficult. 24, it says, one whose happiness is within, who's active and rejoices within, whose aim is inward, is actually a perfect mystic, is liberated in the Supreme, ultimately attains the Supreme. That means if you control your senses and use them in the service of Krishna, you will attain Krishna, of which there is no doubt. 25, it says, you have to go beyond the dualities and doubts and always keep yourself working all the time, keeping yourself busy, doing the highest welfare work for everyone. And what is the highest welfare work? Is to give Krishna consciousness to everyone. Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj says that in this world, there is no shortage of anything, really speaking. But there is one constant shortage, which is Krishna consciousness. There's always a shortage of Krishna consciousness. So those who read Bhagavad Gita, practice Krishna consciousness. It's our duty to give this Krishna consciousness to everyone. Then this shortage can be provided for. 26, it says, to become free from anger and material desire and become self-realized, self-disciplined, endeavor for perfection, and you will attain Krishna. And 27, 28 says, while performing Krishna consciousness, we shut off from external sense objects, keeping our eyes, vision concentrated between the two eyebrows, suspending inward and outward breaths. Now, this is more or less like sitting in a lotus position, sitting like performing pranayam. But keep your mind clear of desire, fear, and anger. This is called pratyahara. Pratyahara, which will be explained nicely in the 6th chapter. 6th chapter is also called Ashtanga Yoga. And in our Bhagavad Gita, it is called Dhyana Yoga. If you want to practice Ashtanga Yoga, then that is the subject matter of the 6th chapter. And going to the final verse of this chapter, this Sri Prabhupada calls it a peace formula. Those who have pencil in their hand, they can write it boldly, that if you want to be peaceful, then 3 things you have to know. That Krishna is the ultimate beneficiary of all sacrifice and austerities. That is number 1. Number 2, that is the honor of all the planets, demigods, and including you. And he is the benefactor. And number 3, that is your best friend, not just a best friend, he is your well-wisher. Not you, but all the living entities. If you know these 3 things, that Krishna is the proprietor, Krishna is the enjoyer, Krishna is the proprietor, and Krishna is your best friend, at once you will attain peace. Many people look for peace, but they do not know the formula. So this is the final verse in the 5th chapter. I'm sorry I've gone a bit far. I didn't look at the clock, it's already 9, but this is the peace formula. I've tried my best to explain to you the subject matter of the 5th chapter. In short, 5th chapter means to fully act for Krishna or wholly act for Krishna. Give all your results of your work to Krishna. Be connected to Krishna. Then that's living a sannyas life, which can be lived even at home. If you're doing all your activities for the pleasure of Krishna, this world, cannot contaminate you in any way. Rather, you remain pure and give this purity to others by doing the highest welfare work, which is preaching Krishna consciousness. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Yes, Prabhuji, please tell.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you for summarizing such an important chapter in just under an hour. You did a mammoth job, very recommendable, and it was good for us because we did one text at a time, and now you have brought everything together and made the whole picture complete. So thank you very much, Prabhuji. Can we ask few questions, Prabhuji? Do you
yes, sure.
Okay. So devotees, kindly please write your questions on the chat or unmute and ask your question. But I'll ask the first question, that is from Divyesh Prabhuji.
Already, Mataji, question is there in the chat.
Yes. I'm reading that. So Divyesh Prabhuji has asked and said, thank you very much for a wonderful lecture. He has a question that, how do you know where you are in your devotional service or if you are progressing in Krishna consciousness?
Okay, the answer is given in the Srimad Bhagavatam, that how do you know when you are hungry and you've eaten and you are satisfied? When you are hungry, when you start eating, you yourself can judge whether you are filled, whether you are full or not. In the similar way, even in devotional service, where you are is when you feel satisfied that yes, I am doing well in Krishna consciousness, you yourself will get satisfaction. Just like when you are hungry, when you start eating, the first morsel which goes in your mouth, and the second and the third, three things happen at the same time. Your hunger goes away, you feel satisfied, and the energy comes in. In the same way, as you practice Krishna consciousness, there will be three effects. The three effects will be, you'll be satisfied, you'll be enjoying practicing your Krishna consciousness. At the same time, you'll remember Krishna. This is the effect or the answer to your question, where are you? And the simple answer, if you want in a summary form, if you are chanting your rounds nicely, it means you are doing well. If you can chant your rounds nicely, happily, thinking of Krishna, it means you are progressing in Krishna consciousness. If not, don't feel bad. Don't feel guilty. Don't feel backwards. And don't think that you are not a devotee. No, there's still a room. There's still time to improve. And you can always improve. So sometimes when our chanting is not nice, or sometimes you don't even feel like chanting, don't give up. You chant. Because bad chanting can be improved only by chanting. Bad rounds can be compensated by good rounds. Our whole Krishna consciousness is dependent on the mercy of Krishna in the form of the holy name. I think, is that answer okay for Divyesh?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu, thank you very much.
Yeah, I hope you are having no difficulty in chanting.
With God's grace, we'll improve. Thank you.
Yeah, that is the proof. Me, even after these 30, 40 years, sometimes I have difficulty in chanting. I don't feel like chanting. I think that I have to do other work. I think I wish I had not to chant. Let me do reading. Let me do this and that and that. But I realize that we still have to do our rounds. I'll give you an example. Once I attended funeral of it was a Jain family, and Jains are good at business. So of course their mantra is different. They call it Naukar mantra. So the person was saying, Naukar mantra ganile, jaldi ganile. It means have you counted your mantras? So I remember that line, that we also have to count our rounds. Sometimes our mind is there, not there, but we have to chant our daily quota, which will keep us progressing. So if you are chanting your runs daily, whether nicely or not nice is not important. If you're doing your daily quota, it means you're progressing. Is it okay, Divyesh Prabhu?
Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Any other question? I see someone has.
Yes, Prabhuji, thank you very much. I'm happy that you are also having problems chanting. So us aspiring devotees have a chance. So we don't feel so bad when we want to do something else. Oh, let me listen to this lecture and not do my rounds today. So yes, I suffer that all the time. Okay, so
Yeah,
there is another question on the chat by Avinash Prabhuji, who has joined us from London. He says that it's a very nice class. Upasna Kand. Haven't heard about this. Please, can you explain about Upasna Kand?
Okay. Now, as I explained briefly, that Vyasdev, when he wrote the scriptures, Vyasdev had a vision that what will happen in Kali Yuga. So he put all our scriptures in writing. Formerly, they were not in writing. There is to be smriti. It means it was spoken and heard. And people had very good memory. Shrutira means when they heard once, they'll remember forever. So in Kali Yuga, people don't have good memory, so he put them in writing. In order to save the humanity from going down to chaos in Kali Yuga, he wrote the Vedas in which there are three sections: Karma Kanda, Dhyana Kanda, Upasana Kanda. Karma Kanda is full of ceremonies, ritualistic activities. Dhyana Kanda means speculation, or more or less knowledge of Brahma, impersonal feature. Upasana Kanda is the worship of Devatas and then ultimately worship of Krishna. So that is called Upasana. Upasana literally means worship. For example, if you go to the second canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, there's a chapter called Pure Devotional Service, or the Lord in the Heart. If you go, there's a whole list of different devatas. For example, if one wants a good husband, then one has to worship Lord Shiva. If one wants a good wife, one has to worship Parvati. One wants to become a hero, again worship Lord Shiva. If one wants to win a battle, then he has to worship Indra. One wants power in the battle, has to worship Durga. In it, there's a whole list. But in the end, it says, Akama sarva kama va, moksha kama udardihi, tivrena bhakti yogina yajate purushapra. It means whether you have all desires, whether you are free from desires, or you are already a liberated person, for all three of them, worship of Krishna is the must. Yajate purusha param. So Upasana means, Prabhupada says that when people have material desires, they'll not worship Krishna, they'll worship devatas, which in other words, Krishna does not like. He calls them alpamedasha. Alpamedasha means not very intelligent people. Because by worshipping devatas, you are not going to get liberation. When you want liberation, you have to come to Mukund. Mukund means Krishna. The word Mukunda means the giver of mukti. Mukti ka data. Only one person can give you mukti. No other demigod. It's not in their capacity. Demigods can give you material things. For example, Surya gives you sunshine. Chandra gives you moonshine. Water, Vayu, air, and so on. So many things are provided by them. So if you think that they are very important and you forget Krishna, then that is called worship of devatas, which is not recommended. Yes, even if you are worshipping devata, but you should not forget the supreme position of Krishna. Even if you take Brahma, Vishnu, Shiva, among these three, again Vishnu is superior. Because from Vishnu comes Brahma, and from Brahma comes Shiva. So Vishnu is always the top. And Vishnu is nothing but an expansion of Krishna, or Krishna, another form is Vishnu. So Upasana means worship of devatas and Vishnu. I think, is that enough? I mean, is that clear? That is
Yes,
called
Prabhuji.
Upasana. Okay,
Yeah,
that
that's
is
clear.
called,
That's
okay,
yeah,
let's
yes,
go
Prabhu.
Upasana.
Sorry, sorry. Yeah, that's clear. Because Upasana, I think Karma Kanda, I was confused between Karma Kanda and Bhakti Yoga, because Bhakti Yoga is the topmost yoga which we have to worship Krishna, and Karma Kanda we also worship the demigods in
No,
Karma
even in
Kanda.
Karma Kanda, there is worship of Vishnu also.
Ah, okay.
It's not that it is not there, but the aim is different. The aim of Karma Kanda, because even Karma Kanda, the main worship is Lord Vishnu. For example, in our Hindu community, there is a puja called Satyanarayan Puja. You know
Oh, yeah.
Satyanarayan Puja?
Yeah. For the
The
material benefit.
Satyanarayan Puja is the worship of Vishnu.
Yeah.
But it is done in a materialistic way,
Yeah.
in a ritualistic way. But in Bhakti Yoga, we don't do Satyanarayan Katha. We chant Hare Krishna, which means we already know or come to an understanding that I'm not pure. Just asking Krishna everything, every day, everything, that is called Karma Kanda. But when you don't ask anything from Krishna, but we want to serve Krishna, then you come to the level of Bhakti Yoga.
Bhakti Yoga. Yeah, thank you, Prabhu.
Bhakti Yoga is much, much superior.
Yeah.
Okay, is it clear?
Yeah, thank you, Prabhu. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you to you for a nice question.
There are no more questions on the chat.
Yes, Mataji.
No,
Yeah,
there is
question is
somebody is raising hand in the temple,
yes.
I think.
Yes,
Okay.
Prabhuji. Can I ask a question, Prabhuji?
Yes.
Yes, Prabhu.
Yeah. Thank you, Prabhuji, for your wonderful class and very enlightened of this is chapter 5 summarized. I think it will be taking 2 classes, but we are so fortunate. We are getting your chance like a senior devotee, Rukma Prabhuji. Prabhuji, one thing is that which is more important for us, like a karma yoga or bhakti yoga?
Well, we all start with Karma Yoga and then come to Bhakti Yoga. So don't reject Karma Yoga. As I explained to you in the class, Karma Yoga means Yat Karoshi Adashnashi Yat Jihoshi Dadashi Yat Tapashyashi Kantiya Tat Kurushwa Madapanam. The meaning is whatever you do, whatever you eat, whatever you offer, anything you do it as an offering to me. This is called Karma Yoga. And what is Bhakti Yoga? Bhakti Yoga is explained that when all our senses are used in the service of Krishna, that is called Bhakti Yoga. Bhakti Yoga means Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, Pada Sevanam, and so on. Those 9 activities are called Bhakti Yoga. So from Karma Yoga, you will automatically come to Bhakti Yoga if you go on with your process clearly. For example, when we come to ISKCON, one of the things we learn from ISKCON is to chant Hare Krishna and offer food to Krishna and then eat. It means it's the beginning of Karma Yoga. It is Karma Yoga. And after doing that for at least for a good time, when we become purified, then we come to the level of Bhakti Yoga. Bhakti means, literally Bhakti means love for Krishna. In Karma Yoga, there may not be still so much love, but there is an attraction for Krishna. But in Bhakti Yoga, complete love for Krishna. That is called Bhakti Yoga.
Yes, Prabhuji.
But I saw someone raising their hand in the temple, some local
Okay,
devotee.
please ask the
What is,
yes, please
what
ask.
is the question? Please ask. Allow him to ask the question.
Yes,
Yes,
Hare
Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji.
Yes.
Is there a difference between in working devotion and devotional service? The difference
Working in devotion and devotional service. No,
Working-
actually there is no difference. Actually, there is no difference.
Okay.
Well, there can be a technical difference. When you say work in devotion, are you putting your devotion into your work? If yes, that is Bhakti Yoga. For example, you can be told to make a garland for Krishna. You can do it with love, very nice garland. And you can do the same garland in a grudging mood. So in the grudging mood, there is no devotion. But when you do it with love, that is devotion. So of which one Krishna is going to accept? The one which is love inside. That's why Krishna says in the 9th chapter, if one offers me with love and devotion, a leaf, a flower, a fruit, or water, I will accept it. Now, why does he say love and devotion? Because love and devotion means bhakti. And if you go to the Sanskrit, the bhakti word is twice in that particular verse. So devotion is very, very important. You may do just a little thing, but if it is a devotion inside, that is called Bhakti Yoga. Otherwise, it may be Jnana Yoga, it can be Karma Yoga. But if you say Bhakti Yoga, it means pure love. For example, when Krishna rejected the big feast of Duryodhana, and he went to eat at Vidura's house, Krishna was given very simple food. He was given spinach, bhaji, and simple roti. Krishna happily ate it because it was given with love and devotion. And he rejected Duryodhana's food, which had a big variety, and the king's food. Krishna rejected that one because there was no love and devotion. So this is a nice example to teach you that anything you do, you may do even little. If there is love inside, Krishna will accept. And if you don't have love, Krishna is not going to accept. Krishna is also a bit stubborn.
So, Prabhuji,
Divyesh
if,
Prabhuji.
sorry, if you chant without love and devotion, it's just pointless to chant, then don't just chant, right?
No, don't say like that. Even I used to think the same in the beginning. When I joined in the beginning, or maybe in the 70s, I used to think that I'm not chanting with love and devotion, so I should not chant. No. By chanting, you are going to get love and devotion. I remember once, I'll give you my personal example. We used to have one boy who used to come in the old temple, and he used to sit opposite the picture of Bhakti Siddhanta Maharaj. You know, Bhakti Siddhanta Maharaj is seated, if you've seen his picture with Japamala, and his legs are like a yogi. So he used to sit in the same position and he used to chant. And he was not a person of a very good character. So once I quarreled with him, I told him, change your character and then chant Hare Krishna. And then one devotee told me, no, whatever he's doing perfect. From this chanting, you'll become a good person. So don't instruct like that. So in the same way, if you are not chanting with love and devotion, it doesn't matter. If you keep a habit of chanting Hare Krishna daily, you will attain the highest benefit. In fact, I have a placard right in front of me, which I always read daily. It's here in front of me. I can read for you. I hope we have time. Parth Prema Prabhu.
Yes,
We have some
Prabhuji. Yes.
time?
Prabhuji,
Yes.
just 1 minute. A lot of devotees want to leave. So can you please introduce Rukma Prabhuji so that they know who Prabhuji is, and then we can continue the discussion.
Yeah, Hare Krishna. Already
Hare
Rukma
Krishna.
Prabhu, yeah. Many devotees are from outside also, are there from London, UK and USA and other places. So we just introduced Rukma Prabhuji. Rukma Prabhuji is the senior most devotee in ISKCON Nairobi. He's the best, he's the basic pillar, the foundation, and he did many devotees. He's a program, basically in the house program, preaching program, Harinam program. He made a lot of devotee who is got initiation. That's the thing. And Rukma Prabhu, what supposed to I give the introduction of Rukma Prabhu? Like the son is no needed to explain his quality and this one. Everyone knows what is the son and what is the quality. Like Rukma Prabhu is the same. If you ask what is Rukma Prabhu, it means ISKCON Nairobi, and ISKCON Nairobi is Rukma Prabhu. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much, Prabhuji.
What do you call
Prabhuji.
Prabhu? Yeah, just glorifying me for so much. I don't need all the anyway. Let's go to what you are supposed to do. I have this play card, and I'll send a photocopy, or I'll send this on the WhatsApp if you have.
Yes.
Very
Prabhuji.
important passage. This is spoken by Bhaktivinoda Thakur, which was mentioned in the class. This is regarding chanting. Hear this very attentively. There is no vow like chanting the holy name. No knowledge superior to the holy name. No meditation comes anywhere near it, and it gives the highest result. No penance is equal to it, and nothing is as potent and powerful as the chanting of the holy name. It is the greatest act of piety. Even the words of Vedas have no power to glorify it. It is the pinnacle of devotion, best form of remembrance of Krishna. The holy name appears solely for the benefit of all living entities, and it appears to give their master and the Lord Krishna to them. Whoever continuously chants Krishna's holy name, even in his sleep, can easily realize that the name is direct manifestation of Krishna himself in spite of the influence of Kali Yuga. Beautiful passage. You should study each line of this and imbibe. I mean, this passage is enough to tell you the value of chanting Hare Krishna. So even if you're chanting nicely, not nicely as Divyesh is saying, doesn't matter. If you are chanting, that is important. And the secret of this is that if you are chanting and if you are hearing, it is accounted. You have to hear and you have to chant. That's all. Okay. Thank you very much. So I'll be sending this WhatsApp to what do you call Partha Prema. You can distribute to others.
Yes, Prabhuji. Yes,
All
yes.
right.
I will circulate in the group. Yes, Prabhu.
Okay. So we should all chant Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna,
Hare
Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare
Hare
Rama,
Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.
Shri Prabhupada ki jai.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Prabhuji, one second.
Sarvasya
Vancha kalpatarubhyasya kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namo. Prabhuji, one humble request. We have want to fix your schedule on a Friday. Is it okay, Prabhu, every Friday?
Yeah, no problem. But you let me know the verse and
yes, I tomorrow we will supposed to. Yes, Prabhu, chapter 6. Then I will send you before one day. Thank you, Prabhuji, for your precious time and enlightenment here. We are so glad to you. Thank you, Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Hare Krishna. Shri
Srila Prabhupada ki jai. His Grace Rukma Prabhu ki jai. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.